أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى وقوله الحق وهو أصدق القائلين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا يأتل أولو الفضل منكم والسعة أن يؤتوا أولي القربى والمساكين والمهاجرين في سبيل الله وليعفوا وليصفحوا ألا تحبون أن يغفر الله لكم والله غفور رحيم صدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Continuing with the tafsir of Surah Noor, we reached verse number 22, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing by saying, the well-to-do and the rich among you should not fail to give to relatives, the destitute, the emigrants, for the cause of God. Be considerate and forgiving. Do you not want God to forgive you? God is all forgiving and all merciful. In this ayah, from the tone of it, we understand the importance of giving is being mentioned. And this is the month of Ramadan, month of receiving the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then from our end, it is the month of giving it to others. And therefore we see that we prepare ourselves to give others in various ways and the methods. One of the ways is by providing for the iftar, and that's one way of giving. Second is also mentioned that especially the nights in which we perform the amal, such as Shabha Qadr, the best of the actions and the action that you should begin your amal with is sadaqah. You should go ahead and give sadaqah, you should go ahead and give it out before you begin the amal of that night. What? Because Shabha Qadr is, it's Laylatul Qadr khayru min alfi shahr. It is better than 1,000 months. So whatever action you do is multiplied by that, and therefore you cannot enumerate the rewards that are attached with it. This ayat is also stating the same fact, the well-to-do and the rich, those upon whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed His extra inayat and extra mercy, is saying they should not neglect about those who are less fortunate in the society and those who are in need, those who are destitute. But among them, the first group of individuals that Allah mentioned is your relatives. They have priority over everyone else. You should look out for them, help them, and then you should go ahead and take care of those in your communities. What is the context of revelation? Why all of a sudden from the ayat that we were discussing, and if you remember in regards to the verses of ifk and the other concept that were discussed prior to that, the concept of adultery and all that, why all of a sudden, this ayat is being revealed? So there must be a reason why these ayat are stacked up in this way, and the context of revelation should make us understand that. Well, some commentators mention in the context of revelation of this particular verse that it was revealed after people disassociated with those who were involved in the incident of ifk. They withdrew all kinds of financial support from them. Allah revealed this verse. He said, to admonish them for their harsh treatment towards these people. He said, well, yes, these people have committed an indecent crime, and they will suffer, and they will get their salah, and they will get their punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you should not withdraw your support to them. You continue on supporting them because that does good to you, not to them. That does good to you. So why do you want to stop your hand from or helping hand from those who are in need? We see the points that we learn from this ayah. Ya'til is from the root alv. If it's from that root alv, alif lam waw, which means to fall short, or it's either from alif lam ya, which is used for taking an oath. And so which sometimes we see in the books of fiqh as ila in the fiqh discussion. Afw, we all know what that means. That means to forgive or forgiveness. Safh, the other word that is being used over here, means to overlook something, which is one step above forgiveness. So safh is the forgiveness in which there is no blame and reproach. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is using both words over here. لِيَعْفُوا لِيَصْفَحُوا. Both of these words are being used in this ayah. What does it say? It says, وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. Both of these words are being used so we understand how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to go beyond just afu, wa darguzar, by forgiving. Rather go a step beyond that, do suffer, which means not to forgive only, but there's no reproach, there's no blaming game over there. You're forgiven and you don't even mention that from your mouth, you don't even complain about it, and you don't brag or boast about it. In the previous verses, those who blamed others were severely criticized. Therefore, some people took an oath never to help these slanderers. This verse was revealed. Don't deprive someone of their past mishaps. Allah will take care of them, but you continue to support them. Salawat bi Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So indeed, there are certain messages in this ayat for us that we need to ponder over. One of those messages is that the opulent have a duty in front of the poor. Those who are well-to-do, those who have the means to provide, there's a duty upon them to go ahead and provide for the poor. Best infaq is one which is continuous. There's no tired, and you don't get tired of doing that, and it's without negligence. As says, wala ya'tal. Helping the relatives, as I said before, is a priority, which this ayah tells us, because among the groups that Allah is ordering us to give, the first group is the family members. In order to reach perfection, this kamal, one must be ambitious and must not settle for less. Because if you want to reach the highest state, you should not, have smaller goals. You should rather hope for things which are up there. And therefore, in order to reach kamal, you've got to go ahead and take the same path. At first, Allah uses the word afu, and then at the next level, He uses the word safr, which tells us that you start from afu darguzar, you forgive others, and then you go to the next level, you forgive, and also there's no reproaching in that involved either. One who forgives others is closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why He says, Ala tuhibbuna an yaghfirallahu lakum. Do you not want Allah to forgive you in return? When you forgive, Allah will go ahead and forgive you in return. Your aim for forgiving someone should be seeking forgiveness of Allah and nothing else. There should not be any other objects, personal matters, vendetta involved in when it comes to forgiveness. Religious scholars and leaders should encourage people to practice infaq and forgiveness. So we gave numerous examples yesterday as well. We talked about the infaq of Hazrat Khadija salamullahi alayha towards this religion, towards the flourishing of the religion of Islam, how she gave everything away to Rasulullah, how we look at the whole universe in our surrounding and we see that it is only natural to give. We see that the trees and the plants and the earth is constantly providing. We see even the animals are constantly providing. We see the smallest of the animals and even the insects and all of these birds and bugs, they're there for a purpose and they're all providing. Sometimes they're providing more than what they need, and so it reaches out to us human beings. So it is only a natural thing for people to provide for others, and if humans stay behind in this task, then they are worse than even the animals, as sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions it in Quran as well. So we said yesterday that when Hazrat Khadija gave out, it was not that she was giving a favor to Islam, it was indeed the favor that Allah had given to her, that she had this tawfiq and she was able to give out in the way of Islam. Kind of like when we have this loan that loan obviously that we have on this masjid, and we're trying to raise a certain amount bit by bit, and you see that every day it is posted on the screens the progress that we have made. But go ahead and take part in this. Why? Because those who have been given this tawfiq by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely be able to take part. It is again a favor of Allah upon you if you are able to give. But also keeping in the situation of people in various countries in the world. For example, we see the situation of Iraq. Now Palestine is also falling in the same way. People ask, what can we do? What is it that it is our duty when we are living such a long distance away from it? Obviously there's no duty upon you to bear arms or by any means of that sort. But yes, financially, you can help those who are displaced in this such a dire situation, to go ahead and help out financially. So there's an importance of sadaqah. There's an importance of giving, infaq in Islam, which is heavily talked about in the verses verses of Quran and as far as the kalam of Masumin is concerned. We recited today in the daily recitation of Quran, Surah Tawbah, verse number 103, which says, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً تُطَهِّرُهُمْ وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ بِهَا وَصَلِّ عَلَيْهِمْ إِنَّ صَلَاتَكَ سَكَنٌ لَهُمْ وَاللَّهُ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Collect sadaqah from their wealth to purify and cleanse them and pray for them. Your prayers give them comfort. God is all hearing and all knowing. Allah is asking Rasul to pray for these people. Who? Those who have given sadaqah to Prophet to go ahead and help out, to go ahead and spread out. How this sadaqah which is being given or which is being collected by Rasulullah, how Prophet is making this prayer for those individuals. So today, you think this ayat was only for the people who lived in the time of Rasulullah and that's it? No, this ayat for us as well. And so you and I, when we go ahead and take this task upon our shoulders, we are also the beneficiaries of the dua and the prayer of Rasulullah. We see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who collects these sadaqat before it reaches the hands of those who are poor and the needy. We read and we read it in the same surah as well. It says, أَلَمْ يَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ يَقْبَلُ التَّوْبَةَ عَنْ عِبَادِهِ وَيَأْخُذُ الصَّدَقَاتِ. That do they not know that Allah is the one who accepts the repentance from His servants and He is the one who receives the charities. So when you are giving something out in charity, when you're giving it to someone, whether to help the people suffering in Iraq, whether it's to people suffering in Pakistan, or in any other place where there are people suffering, even we're not stopped to giving out to non-Muslims. So sadaqah is something which can also be given out to non-Muslims. A lot of people ask this question, can we give out to our non-Muslim brothers in this community that we live in? Yes, sadaqah can be given to them as well. For, obviously, ta'alif qalb, to bring them closer to yourself. And that is something which has been given permission by all of our maraji. So therefore, it is something which reaches the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then it reaches the hand of the one that you are giving this. And that's why you remember that whenever our fourth Imam, Imam Zayn al-Abidin alayhi salatu wasalam, would give out sadaqah, he would kiss the hand of the sa'il. People ask, oh Imam, why do you kiss the hand of the sa'il? Imam says, do you not know? He says, يُقَبِّلُ يَدَهُ عِنْدَ الصَّدَقَةِ فَقِيلَ لَهُ فِي ذَلِكَ فَقَالَ إِنَّهَا تَقَعُ فِي يَدِ اللَّهِ قَبْلَ أَن تَقَعَ فِي يَدِ السَّائِلِ. That let it be known that it is when you give it to someone, it ends up being in the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first, and then it reaches the hand of the sa'il and the beggar. So when I put it in the hand of the sa'il, it becomes the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I kiss the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not have hands, so we understand that. There are no body parts that we can associate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you understand the point that was being made over here, that imagine if it was reaching the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you would want to go ahead and kiss that. Prophet in this regard said that ma taqa'u sadaqatul mu'min fi yad as-sa'il hatta taqa'a fi yad Allah thumma tala hadhihi al-ayah. Prophet repeated the same thing, or rather our fourth Imam repeated this hadith from our Prophet, that it reaches the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he recited this ayah, and then he said it reaches the hand of those who are sa'il. Salawat diji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And therefore he said Allah has assigned an angel for everything except sadaqah, because it reaches him directly or is placed in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For every good deed that you perform, there's an angel who's recording it. But when it is the good deed of giving charity or sadaqah is performed, it is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He makes a note of that. He keeps account of that, or it's in his hands that he gives it out, and he rewards those who give this sadaqah. But sometimes what happens is that our sadaqat, we say, well, we've been given for such a long time, but there's no effect of this sadaqah. But we see that there are sadaqat which are batil, which are lagh, which end up not causing or not benefiting us at all. It says in Quran, قَوْلٌ مَعْرُوفٌ وَمَغْفِرَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِّن صَدَقَةٍ يَتْبَعُهَا أَذًى وَاللَّهُ غَنِيٌّ حَلِيمٌ. That a good speech, a kalam, when you speak to someone, and again, these are manners which are being taught to us, that when you speak to someone, qawl al-ma'roof, a good word, when you speak to someone nicely, is better than giving them money. is better than giving them sadaqah. Why? That sadaqah which you're going to keep on reproaching, you're going to keep on bragging about, you're going to keep on reminding them of, it's better not to give that sadaqah to them, just to speak to them nicely. So because that sadaqah which you have given and you keep on reminding has no value, none whatsoever. That's why it says in the very next ayah, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la tubtilu sadaqatikum bil manni wal adha kalladhi yunfiqu malahu ri'a an-nas wa la yu'minu billahi wal yawmil akhir. Allahu Akbar. It says, those who believe, do not cancel or invalidate your charities by reproach, by reminding, by bragging and boasting. Kalladhi, like the person, yunfiqu malahu, the one who gives his infaq, his mal, in the way to show people of he does not believe in Allah, nor does he believe in the last day and the day of judgment. So we see there are a lot of messages that can be derived from every one of these verses that we are reciting, but if we went into that, we will steer away from the tafsir of Surah Noor. So we understand the point over here that there are sadaqat, which if it is done for the sake of people, showing off to the people, yes, at one point you want to encourage others. There's nothing wrong in showing off over there. So for example, if we were doing fundraising over here and we were collecting money and someone raised his hand and said, $10,000 or so, and you say, well, look, that person is showing off to others. No, in this place it will not be showing off. Why? Because it actually encourages others to go ahead and chip in. You see, well, that person is giving 10, at least I should go ahead and give 1, or at least I should go ahead and give this much. So this is something which is to encourage. When it is done with the intention of encouraging others, it is not considered to be show off, it is not considered to be vanity, and therefore this person is not the subject of this particular ayah. Salawat biji Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We see that people are suffering around the world, around the globe. In Iraq, there's dire situation. There are so many organizations that are collecting food, they're collecting money to send, to provide to these people who have been displaced from their hometowns. And so it is a great cause. Go ahead and chip in from whatever extent that you could. It's not that you have to take care of the whole thing. If everybody started thinking, if I had this much, I would have given this much out. No, whatever you have, just be content with that and go ahead and give it out, and that would be inshallah accepted in the bargah of Allah. And if you have nothing, even then, our seventh Imam, Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salatu wasalam, said even a person who has nothing should not say, well, I have nothing, therefore I cannot give sadaqah. He said, no. He said, عَوْنُكَ لِلضَّعِيفِ أَفْضَلُ الصَّدَقَةِ. When you help those who are elderly, it is considered to be the best of the sadaqat. Yes, helping out those who are elderly, taking care of them. They are important members of your society and your community. In fact, the hadith which says that الشيخ في بيته كالنبي في أمته, an elderly in a house, and it is indeed blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who have their grandparents with them. That it says الشيخ في بيته, an elderly in a house is kind of like Nabi in his ummah. The hadith is comparing the elderly with the job of a Nabi. What is the job of the Nabi? Nabi brings the news. Naba, he brings the news from Allah. He continues the Shariat from the previous Rasul. Because Rasul is given a Shariat, Nabi isn't. So Nabi continues from the Shariat of previous Rasul, and he brings the news from Allah. And he's guiding the mankind in his own ummah. Shaykh, the elderly in the household, is doing the same thing, except he's doing it with his experience. He's lived such a long life, so therefore don't take them for granted. Rather, use this opportunity for them having with you, serve them, do khidmat to them, according to this hadith of our seventh Imam. أَفْضَلُ الصَّدَقَةِ عَوْنُكَ لِلضَّعِيفِ. The best of the sadaqah is you helping out those who are elderlies. And then, this was sort of just, I wanted to very briefly touch upon the concept of infaq. And so there were many ways that we can, as this ayat is telling us, those who had committed this indecent act, do not deprive them. Your duty is to keep on giving. Your duty is to keep on helping them. We will take care of, punishment and whatever it goes on. So do not disassociate yourselves with those people who have been the slanderers, those accusers, or those who have blamed others falsely, yes, they will get their saza and punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or from the hakim, but you should not stop your hand of helping hand from them. The next verse says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَرْمُونَ الْمُحْصَنَاتِ الْغَافِلَاتِ الْمُؤْمِنَاتِ لُعِنُوا فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ عَظِيمٌ. Indeed, those who accuse chaste and unwary, faithful women shall be cursed in this world and the hereafter, and there shall be a great punishment for them. So this goes back to the previous verses and connects it. So we see that just that particular ayah in between these two was only there to go ahead and tell these people who have withdrew their support from them to go back and keep on supporting them. But then Allah repeats, He reiterates the fact, don't worry about their punishment. Indeed, those people who have accused the chaste people or chaste women of bad character, they will have their punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Although in Quran the following people have been cursed: unbelievers, those who break covenant, murderers, those who side with the tyrant, those who are hypocrites, the immoral and the corrupt, mushrikeen, arrogant, oppressors, and those who hide the truth, and those who are the liars. But the curse of this world and the hereafter with a great torment is reserved for those who are the slanderers of honorable people. We see that the first category of those people that I recited their names, murderers, breakers of the covenant, those who side with the tyrants, those who are oppressors, those who are liars, those who are immoral, those who are mushrikeen, those who are hypocrites, all of these people, it says yes, they are given la'nat in this world. But the only instant when we see that someone has given the la'nat in this world and in the hereafter with the great adab reserved for them is the one who accuses and slanders honorable people. So indeed we understand over here it's a major crime. In fact, our sixth Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi wasalam said, this verse considers the slandering on chaste and pure to be among the major sins. It's among the major sins. So do not count that do not take that very lightly, and do not turn away from them. So we see the message is that women are an easy target to confront that. Islam places severe punishment for that regards. The one who is more chaste and pure is prone to allegations. So if you are chaste and if you're pure, you get ready for these things to be given towards you. And that's why we see that our Prophet was the most beloved. Who could be more beloved in the sight of Allah than our Prophet? But we see the most difficulties that he faced, none of us can ever think of it. The most difficult time that he went through. In fact, from the very beginning, in order for him to understand how an orphan lives a life, Prophet himself is born as an orphan. Because you cannot understand the difficulties they go through, so Prophet is made to go through that. But does that mean our Prophet is the most unfortunate? Our Prophet is no, he's not. He's the most beloved in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that tells us over here, the more chaste you are, the more pure you are, you're prone to these allegations. As the more clean you are, the more these allegations will come towards you. Aside from the wrath in the hereafter, the accuser is cursed in this world and as well in the hereafter. The next couple of ayat are talking about how our body parts will be giving testimony against us. It says, يَوْمَ تَشْهَدُ عَلَيْهِمْ أَلْسِنَتُهُمْ وَأَيْدِيهِمْ وَأَرْجُلُهُمْ بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ يَوْمَئِذٍ يُوَفِّيهِمُ اللَّهُ دِينَهُمُ الْحَقَّ وَيَعْلَمُونَ أَنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الْحَقُّ الْمُبِينُ. On the day when witness shall be given against them by their tongues, their hands, their feet, concerning what they used to do. So here we see that the concept of our organs bearing witness and testifying on the Day of Judgment has been repeated in different places in Quran. Surah Yasin we read, in Surah Fussalat we read, 2 ayat over here that talk about the same concept. It says in Surah Fussalat, حَتَّى إِذَا مَا جَاءُوهَا شَهِدَ عَلَيْهِمْ سَمْعُهُمْ وَأَبْصَارُهُمْ وَجُلُودُهُم بِمَا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. That when they will be brought, or when they come, they will be given witness from what they have heard, from what they have seen, from all of their body parts. Their ears will be bearing witness, and their eyes will be bearing witness. Surah Yasin says, "Al-yawm nakhtimu ala afwahihim wa tukallimuna aydihim." Today we have sealed their mouths, and every other organ will be giving testimony against them. Since when testifying, one must testify against another. So for example, if I'm being brought to testify against someone else, so there are two parties involved. I'm testifying in regards to someone else. So there are two. Here we understand that the essence of insan is separate from the bodily parts. That's why these bodily parts are testifying against us. What is this us? This us is separate from these body parts. So that's why we understand how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving this example over here, that bearing witness against him, since witness and the witness must be separate from one another. So therefore, this body that we have, yes, it will be brought back. It will be bearing witness. It will be testifying against the thing that we have done. And who would be denying these body parts that are with us all our life? Just to finish it off very quickly, I am running out of my time. That in the court of Allah, mankind is not even the owner of his own body parts. Here you might think that you're the owner of these hands and the legs and the feet and the mouth and the tongue and the eyes and the ears, and you use them to whatever means that are available for you. But over there, you're not even the owner of these body parts. And this is where an important discussion about organ donation comes into play. How you're not even the owner of these body parts in the hereafter, and then this discussion comes into play. I won't go into that discussion today because it'll take quite some time, and therefore we'll put it on tomorrow if Allah gives us the permission, inshallah, to continue with this ayat and as far as the concept of organ donation and everything else is concerned. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the tawfiq to be able to follow these commands from Quran and the teachings of Ma'asumeen alayhi wassalatu wassalam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to hasten the zuhur of our awaited Imam. On the same token, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to better the situation that is in Iraq, that is in Sham, that is in Palestine now, in Pakistan, and all the other places where there are, human beings are suffering. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring relief to them as soon as possible. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.